What's happening, people? It's the homie Smitster 400 coming at you straight off the Ave, and this is Smitster Reacts. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. One time salute to all the subscribers, wherever you at, all around the world, new and old. And if you made it to this video, go ahead, give us a like, subscribe, baby. Join the team. Gotta salute the Straight Off the Ave fam, man. The co-host Zenfi369, the homie Sosa, and the homie Mr. Dubbin. Straight Off the Ave fam, you know what it is. All right, y'all. So as we know, Max B is free. The wave is out here on these streets. He's back in the studio. He been seen with French, you feel me? Putting together, I think it was what? Something part 3. I forget the name of the project, but it's part 3. It's coming. We looking forward to it. Always looking forward to the waviest. You feel what I'm saying? I was riding to that Hustlers POME by Jim Jones. I don't think you want it with them. They don't hesitate to squeeze, man. Banger after banger after banger after banger when Jim Jones and Max B got together. That's why where we at right now is kind of crazy, but we finna get into exactly why things are the way they are between the two. So without further ado, man, shout out to Hip Hop Daily. Go tap in over there. We finna react to this video, Max B versus Jim Jones, the war in Harlem. So look, without further ado, man, tap in, relax, get you some drinks, whatever you got going on. And yeah, let's get to it.
Max B and Jim Jones were two of the biggest rappers from Harlem to blow up in the rap game. But even though they started out cool, ego and jealousy turned them against each other. This is how they went from close homies to starting one of the wildest beefs in rap history. Max B and Jim Jones both grew up in Harlem, which was one of the most dangerous parts of New York at the time. Harlem in the late 80s and 90s was hit hard by the crack epidemic, but it also created tons of hip-hop legends like Big L and Dame Dash. Max B grew up in the Abraham Lincoln Projects in East Harlem. His mom was addicted to crack, and she even served a 1.5 years in jail when Max was a kid. So Max was mostly raised by his grandparents in a religious household. Going to church inspired his love for music, and Max started singing in the boys' choir of Harlem. Joining the choir helped him learn how to sing, which is what gave Max B a different style when he hopped in the booth and started rapping. Growing up, Max was also childhood friends with another Harlem legend, Cameron. Cam went to high school at the Manhattan Center for Mathematics with Jim Jones, and that's how Max linked up with him. They shared an interest in music and all wanted to be rappers, but at the same time, they were also heavy in the streets. And before they all blew up, Max B would end up catching a case that put him behind bars before his rap career could ever really take off. In 1997, Max B was arrested for robbery and spent almost 8 years locked up. He was only 18 when he went in and didn't get out until 2005. The same year that Max went to prison, Cam and Jim Jones, along with their homie Freaky Zeke, started a crew called Dipset. Cam was already well known as a rapper in Harlem after being part of a group called Children of the Corn with Big L, Mace, and Cam's cousin.
So that's interesting to know that the homie Max was already in the music, caught a case, went and did some time. Same time the homies blow up, you come home. So then that actually makes sense as far as how the homie Jim ended up getting, you know what I'm saying, excuse me, how the homie Jim ended up linking up with him and all that. It's like that. Let's get to it.
Bloodshed. Children of the Corn broke up after Bloodshed was murdered, so Cam linked up with Jim Jones to start Dipset. Dipset started making waves in the early 2000s after Cam signed a deal with Dame Dash and Jay-Z's group, Rockefeller Records. Over the next few years, Cam and the rest of the crew went on a major run. In 2002, Cam dropped his classic album, Come Home With Me. They followed that up with the first Dipset album, Diplomatic Immunity. Then Jim Jones dropped his first project called On My Way to Church.
All classics. If you ain't hear them, tap in, go back, listen to them. Let's continue.
So by the time Max B got out in 2005, Dipset was on top of the world. Max wanted to switch up how he moved and focus on his rap career, so he started kicking it with Cam and the rest of Dipset. Max started doing features and ended up on 2 songs from Jim Jones' second project, Harlem, Diary of a Summer. The next year, Max also did the hook for the Cameron song, You Gotta Love It, which was a diss track about Jay-Z. The wild diss and Max's deep singing voice caught people's attention immediately, and suddenly everyone was talking about Max B. The same year, Max also dropped his first mixtape, $1 Million Baby. Around that time, Jim Jones also started his own label and spin-off group called Bird Gang. Jim Jones invited Max B to be a member, along with another Dipset affiliate named Stack Bundles. Max worked on Bird Gang's first mixtape, M.O.B., and also appeared on Jim Jones' next mixtape, The 7 Day Theory. Max B not only had the musical talent, but he also had the street cred after serving close to 8 years in prison. So it seemed like Max B was about to be the next Dipset member to blow up. But just when he was starting to gain momentum, Max caught another case that would eventually take him off the streets for good. On September 29, 2006, Max was arrested and charged with murder and conspiracy to commit robbery after police accused him of being the mastermind in a wild heist gone wrong.
So think about that timeline, right? The homie come home in the midst of everything blowing up, you feel me? And then turn around and catch a case. But that's how I go in the hood, bro. With, you know what I'm saying? Like, free all the homies, man. Free all the Billies, you feel me? That's just how it goes, bro. That's the cycle of the streets, and it's wild, but it is what it is.
In 2005, Max met a woman named Gina Conway at a Jim Jones show in Myrtle Beach. Gina was a huge Dipset fan and wanted to get backstage to meet Joel's and Cameron. But when she found out they weren't there, Gina started kicking it with Max B instead. They ended up dating, and Gina moved in with Max in the Bronx, where she worked at a strip club while Max was grinding with his rap career. But the relationship was pretty toxic. Gina was a prostitute, and Max was hooking up with multiple women at the same time. They kept...
That's wild. Says Shawty was a 3-0 fizzle.
breaking up, and Gina eventually moved back down south, only for Max to convince her to come back to New York. One time, Gina came back and found Max living with another woman who was pregnant with his baby. Somehow, Gina ended up moving in with Max's brother, Mike, and went back to stripping. The whole story was pretty messed up, but things were about to get even crazier. While Gina was stripping in the club, she met a dude named Alan J. Plowden. Jay would always pull up to the club in a brand new white Mercedes with tons of money in the back. One night, Jay started talking to Gina after Max blew her off, and they started hanging out. Jay would always take Gina on shopping sprees and spoil her with champagne and new clothes. Gina ended up going with Jay to a Holiday Inn, where he was staying with his partner, David Taylor. It turns out that David Taylor and Jay Plowden were running a mortgage and mail fraud scheme, which is why they had so much cash. Gina Conway saw all the cash Jay had in his hotel room, so she stole his key card on the way out and decided to call Max B to plan a robbery. According to Gina, she met up with Max back at the Lincoln Projects in Harlem. Max was mad that she'd been gone, so Gina decided to make him jealous by telling him all about Jay Plowden and all the money he had back at the hotel room. Jay told Gina he was going to the club, so she thought it would give her the perfect opportunity to rob the hotel room while he was gone. According to Gina, Max B called his cousin, Kelvin Leardham. Max told Gina that if she took Kelvin to the hotel room to take the money, he'd love her forever. So Gina and Kelvin went back to the Holiday Inn, but when they got there, they found Jay in the room with another woman named Giselle Neves. In another wild twist, Giselle Neves was also there to rob Jay Plowden. Giselle saw Jay in his new Mercedes and planned to go back to his hotel room to steal the keys. But before she had the chance, Gina and Kelvin burst into the room. Kelvin and Gina tied up Jay and Giselle and started trashing the room looking for the cash.
So this man allegedly was dealing with two females, both of which saw he was getting chilly and decided to backdoor him, man. That's wild, bro. That is a straight up. That's one of those, like, see, this is why, fellas, take notes. Don't be dealing with a bunch of, you know what I'm saying, chicks and whatnot, especially when you're getting chilly. Chicks be backdooring the ish out of cats in the hood. Like, it happens and from hood to hood, bruh. Be mindful. Let's continue.
They couldn't find enough money, so Gina demanded Jay call his partner, David Taylor. David was sleeping on another floor and came down when Jay called him. As soon as David came into the room, Kelvin pointed a gun in his face and they started fighting. During the struggle, David ended up getting shot in the head and died. Gina and Kelvin got away with $30,000 in cash. But it didn't take long for the police to track them down and find out that Gina still had Jay Plowden's laptop. And as soon as they arrested her, Gina started talking. She claimed Kelvin was the one who shot David Taylor and that Max B was the one who set it all up. Max was immediately arrested for murder and robbery charges and held on a $2 million bail. But Max couldn't afford to pay the bail, so he was forced to sit in jail. While he was behind bars, Max's music career continued to go up. Before he went in, he recorded a few tracks for Jim Jones' third album, Hustler's Poem, which dropped in November of '06. Along with his own features, Max also wrote a lot of Jim's verses and hooks, including the lead single, We Fly High. We Fly High ended up being Jim's biggest hit to date and made it to number 5 on the Billboard charts. But while Jim was living the life and enjoying the success, Max B was behind bars, fighting for his life. That's where the beef between Max B and Jim Jones really began. Max started doing interviews from jail where he dished Jim for letting him sit in jail. Max claimed that he not only wrote We Fly High, but that he also wrote all of Jim's most popular songs since they first met. Max B also said that Jim Jones owed him credit for all his success, but wouldn't even help pay his bail. Jim later brushed it off in interviews and claimed that Max was over-exaggerating about how much he wrote. While he was locked up, Max B kept feeding the streets and dropped 2 more mixtapes, Public Domain, $1 Million Baby Radio, and Public Domain 2, The Rise of the Silver Surfer. A few months went by, and Max's bail ended up getting dropped to $90,000. That's when Jim Jones came to Max B and offered him a new record deal where Max could use the advance to pay his bail and get out. But the new deal was pretty bad for Max and required him to sign over all his publishing to Jim. Max didn't want to sign the deal, but he also didn't have much of a choice if he wanted to post bail. So Max took the deal and ended up getting out after spending 10 months.
So basically, the homie Jim Jones hit Max with a bad contract, bro. It happens all the time. Took the homie publishing. That's basically how you get paid. You feel what I'm saying? So the homie basically sold his soul in order to get out of the situation that he was in, bro. Kind of reminds you, that's crazy enough. Bigavelli, Machiavelli, Tupac, same situation like with the Suge Knight situation. Pac wasn't finna get out. Suge got him out. The rest is history type is. So for him to take that name, gotta watch words and names and things like that. You feel what I'm saying? Because they got power in the tongue type ish. Let's go.
Months locked up. But when Max B got out, his relationship with Jim didn't get any better. Max was still mad that he was forced into signing a bad deal just to get his freedom back and blamed Jim Jones for taking advantage of him when he was at his lowest point. Not only was he fighting for his life, but about a month before his release, Max B lost his close homie and fellow Bird Gang member, Stack Bundles. On June 11, 2007, Stack Bundles was shot and killed in the lobby of the Redfern houses in Far Rockaway, Queens. Max B and Stack Bundles were close right up to his death, and it really affected Max. Jim Jones was working on a new album and wanted Max B to write for him again so he could get another hit. But Max wasn't feeling it and refused to work with Jim, even though he was signed to him. There were also rumors that Jim had a falling out with Cameron and Dipset had broken up, so Max had no reason to be cool with Jim anymore. So Max B distanced himself from Dipset and started his own crew called Gang Green. Around the same time, Max also started hanging out with another New York rapper who had beef with Jim Jones named French Montana. French Montana had a major buzz in New York at the time with his Cocaine City DVD series. French and Max B knew some people in common, but they could never work together before Max got locked up because of Max's affiliations with Jim Jones and the Bird Gang. According to French Montana, his problem started after Jim Jones lied about having him set up. In 2003, French Montana was leaving a recording studio when he got into a shootout that ended with him getting shot in the head. Montana later admitted that someone in his inner circle had set him up and Jim Jones had nothing to do with it.
The person that got me shot drove me to the hospital, so the greatest threat is always from the inside.
But French Montana claims that Jim started going around telling everyone he was involved in the situation just to help his street cred. Montana clapped back with footage of Jim and the rest of Dipset getting jumped in one of his Cocaine City DVDs. Then while Dipset was on tour with Bad Boy Records, Jim Jones got into an altercation with one of Biggie Small's homies, C Gutta. Jim and C Gutta kept running into each other and getting into small fights. But eventually, it led to a massive brawl at Rucker Park in Harlem between Dipset and Junior Mafia. There was footage of Jim Jones and the rest of Dipset getting beat up and run out of Rucker Park. So French Montana used the footage in Cocaine City, Volume 4, to get back at Jim, which is what first started their beef. When Max B officially left Bird Gang and linked up with French Montana, they both started taking shots at Jim Jones together. Around the same time, Max B dropped a mixtape called Public Domain 3, where he dissed Jim Jones and the rest of Dipset. The cover showed Max B in a graveyard surrounded by tombstones that said, "Here lies Millie Jim Jones," and "Here lies Vanilli Joel Santana." Milli Vanilli was a pop group from the 90s who got exposed for lip-syncing other people's music. So Max was taking shots at Jim Jones and Joel's for stealing songs from him and other members of Bird Gang and trying to pretend like it was their own.
That was a W move right there. In the heat of battle like that, that was a W move.
There was also a song on the mixtape called Lip Sync, where Max B took shots at Jim and Joel's rapping. I told them bitches, come and see me. They be acting like it ain't nothing. I know them niggas need me. I was giving them the loot, but them niggas done blew it. Max B and French Montana would also go back and forth with Jim in interviews and videos uploaded to WorldStar. But Jim wasn't the only target. Max also started going after Jim's wife, Chrissy Lampkin, and claimed that she gave him head by the pool in Miami. To add to the disrespect, Max even made a song called She Touched It in Miami, where he remixed the Jim Jones song, Summer with Miami, and brags about hooking up with his wife, rapping, she sucked it in Miami, while Big Avell hit it from the back in her fanny. Gang Green family, riding on these bitch niggas. Empty up the clip, click clack, hit niggas. Gotti spit bricks, nigga. Peel uncut raw. Pussies talking reckless, but they don't really want a war. Nigga ain't worth my time, so I'm getting at your whore. Dipset affiliate Hell Rel also got dragged into the beef. Max B and French Montana made a video that got uploaded to WorldStar where they went in on Hell Rel for being ugly.
Shout to my mother, baby.
It feel good.
Nigga, the doctor smacked your mother when you was born. Nigga, you're so ugly.
What you talking about?
Hell Rel, a.k.a.
Oh, man, I gotta see this.
Hold on,
man.
A.k.a. Hell No. The bitches see you, they go, ooh, hell no, I'm not fucking with that ugly nigga.
Max even said if he had to choose between having Hell Rel's face and doing 50 years in jail, he'd take the 50 years. Hell Rel clapped back and said that he heard her.
Yo. The man's a comedian, bruh. True comedian.
Rumor that Max B and French just got married and offered up $5,000 for the wedding pictures to see Max in the dress. So at this point, the beef was deeper than just Jim Jones versus Max B, and half of New York was forced to pick sides. Pretty soon, it went from disses to actual violence. In a different video, Max claims that Jim spotted him in his whip and tried to box him. Jim Jones saw Max B in the parking lot and drove up next to him so he couldn't get out. Jim and his goons tried to attack him, but Max ended up ramming Jim's Bentley so he could get out, then punched Jim in the face. In the video, Max even showed off the dents in his car and pointed out where the fight happened. At one point, Max B and French Montana even went to confront Jim at a studio in Manhattan. They were rolling deep with a huge crew, but ended up getting stopped in the lobby. When they came out of the studio, Max B and French Montana claimed that Jim saw what was happening and called the police. Around the same time, Jim Jones and his crew also pulled up to one of Max B's shows in Brooklyn. A huge fight broke out, and Max started going wild and throwing chairs. Things got so crazy that the cops showed up with dogs. But by that point, Max and Jim were already long gone. So the beef kept heating up, and it seemed like only a matter of time before someone got seriously hurt or ended up dead. But before anything major went down, Max ended up losing his freedom. In 2008, Max signed a 3-album deal with an indie label called Amalgam Digital. But Max was still technically signed to Jim Jones, so he wasn't allowed to release any real albums. Max still kept it pushing and dropped mixtapes like Coke Wave and Quarantine. Max was also working on his first album or trying to get out of his contract with Jim. But in June 2009, Max was finally sentenced for the robbery and murder of David Taylor. Max B's ex-girlfriend, Gina Conway, had already pled guilty to armed robbery and manslaughter and agreed to testify against Max and Kelvin Laird-Ham. She blames it all on them and said Max had planned the whole thing and that Kelvin was the one who pulled the trigger and killed David Taylor. Max and Kelvin were both found guilty of 9 out of the 11 charges, including felony murder. So even though Max wasn't at the crime scene when the murder happened, he was sentenced to 75 years, while Kelvin Laird-Ham was given life plus 35 years. It seemed like everything was over for Max B, but his beef with Jim Jones still didn't end there. Max B won a lawsuit where a judge ruled that Jim Jones no longer had control over Max's music career. So Max was finally able to drop an album. Max B's first studio album, Vigilante Season, finally dropped in March 2011 on Amalgam Digital. Max also scored another win in court after a judge granted him an appeal for his charges, which included a new lawyer and a new trial. In 2013, Max gave an interview from jail where he explained exactly where his beef with Jim Jones all started. Max said that Bird Gang had a seniority system that was inspired by Dipset. Cameron was the leader of Dipset, so Jim Jones and Joel's were under Cam. So when Jim Jones started Bird Gang, he decided he was the boss and that Max B and the rest of the crew were his workers. Instead of running it like a real crew, Jim Jones wanted everyone else to work for him. But Max felt like he was bringing too much to the table to be treated like that. Max wrote Jim's biggest hit, We Fly High, and a lot of his other popular songs. But Max wasn't getting a fair cut of the profits. Max even claims that when they did shows, Jim Jones would only pay him $300, even though Jim was easily making 10 to 15 raps. On top of that, Jim had a lot of beef in different cities, which Max got dragged into. Jim's ops would come to shows and throw chairs on stage trying to start drama. Max had to stand up to all the goons and ops only for $300. When Max got locked up for the murder, he realized his buzz was going up. But when he came home...
And that's crazy right there, bro, because you inherit, you know what I'm saying, whatever crew you running with, whoever you around, you get seen in that same light, you feel me? So it's like when cats would join G-Unit, now all of a sudden they got all the beef that come with 50 Cent. You know what I'm saying? Just to use it as a comparison, you feel me? So, or like if he was rolling with Death Row back in the day, and you know, or like Bad Boy Death Row, it's just like that, bro. Like you gonna inherit the beef from whoever you around, and that's just what it is. You walk outside with your cousin and your cousin got beef, it's up. You feel me? So yeah, crazy.
Jim still wasn't showing Max any respect. So Max B decided that if Jim wasn't gonna help put him on, he'd have to capitalize on the buzz in a different way by starting a beef. Max knew rap fans would love it, so he started dissing his former homie. The move worked, and the beef with Jim Jones made him more popular than ever. But while he was locked up, Max was more focused on fighting for his freedom than on continuing the beef with Jim. At first, his appeal was denied, but in 2016, Max caught a lucky break and had his sentence reduced. Max B's legal team argued that his original lawyer, a dude named Gerald Saluti, had a clear conflict of interest when he represented Max in court. Gerald was not only Max's lawyer, but he was also his manager and entertainment lawyer. Max was offered a plea deal for 10 years, but his lawyer Gerald convinced Max to turn the plea deal down and take it to trial. Max B's new legal team argued that the old lawyer Gerald knew that if Max got 10 years, he'd stop making money off his career. But if Max beat the case and came home a legend, he can make Gerald, his lawyer and manager, millions. After reviewing the evidence, a judge agreed to overturn the original conviction. Max was still found guilty and sentenced to 20 years, but he was credited with time served, which meant Max could be home as early as 2025. It seems like his time locked up gave Max a whole new perspective on life. In a DJ Vlad interview from prison, Max said that his beef with Jim Jones was a long time ago and that they've all grown up and moved past it. Max said they had their issues, but when he comes home, the only thing Max wants to do is focus on making music. In 2020, Jim Jones also squashed his 15-year beef with French Montana. They got on an IG live session together and laughed about all the crazy situations they got into over the years. Jim Jones was also featured on French Montana's song Too Late from the Coke Boys 5 album. But apparently, Jim does not have the same energy for Max B. During an interview, Jim was asked if he would ever work with Max B again. Jim immediately shut the question down.
Will you work with Max B when he gets
Nah,
out of jail?
fuck Max B.
Okay.
Max, fuck dick. Fuck out of here.
Who knows if the beef between Max B and Jim Jones will ever really end? Max could finally come home in the next few years. So, fans will have to wait and see if they finally put the past behind them and link up or continue going at each other's necks.
Look, once again, salute to Hip Hop Daily. Go over there and subscribe, like the video, tell them Smitster sent you, you feel what I'm saying? Look, bruh, clearly they not finna squash crap, bruh. They not spinning, none of that's finna get squashed. When you start talking about people, women, when you start to, you know, when there's situations where, okay, like, look, nobody died in the situations, but when you had altercations, physical altercations, it get a little, you feel me? It really seemed like Jim really is holding grudges in this situation. He's not finna let up, and respect to him for it. You know what I mean? He ain't gotta, you know, reconcile just because Max wanna reconcile. It is what it is. But look, that is the story behind why we are where we are now, and we won't get bangers like we got back in those times with the homie Jim and the homie Max B. I mean, who knows if he tight with French and Max is doing anything right now. Maybe Jim would be like, F it. You feel me? But we're going to have to wait and see. If you made it to this point in the video, go ahead, give us a like and subscribe. Salute to all the subscribers. You feel what I'm saying? All around the world, new and old. We appreciate y'all over here. Tap in. New content every day. You feel me? Back at it. Streams coming. Salute to the homie Sosa, man. We about to get it rocking. We got some interviews on the way. If you didn't catch us at Rawchella, where we had all the artists on and didn't catch their little segments, go back, get a little introduction to who these artists are, and yeah, expect to see them on the show. So look, It's the homie Smitster 400. This has been Smitster Reacts. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. Peace and love wherever you at, all around the world, new and old. Owie.